The biggest inspiration for me to pursue art came from, it really kind of came from inside. I think I've always been a creative person, but everybody in my family has a creative outlet. And even in the moments that I wanted to stray away from creativity and stray away from artwork, when I wanted to stray away from creativity and artwork, I always found myself coming back to creativity and artwork. My name is Milan Finnie. I'm from Imperial Beach, California, and I've been an artist for as long as I remember. It went from like stick figures, you know, the girls with the big heads and the small bodies and the big shoes. And it just kind of evolved over time. My primary medium is pyrography, and I like to call myself a pyrographist. And it was pyrographer, but I thought that word was so ugly. And I decided to give it my own twist. And it started because in high school, there was this project and we were going to decorate the garden shed with all of these wooden placards that had different types of artwork on them. And he's like, you can use paint, watercolor, or this wood burning tool. And I was like, we can use a wood burning tool? And I was like, oh my God, like I was mesmerized. I couldn't believe it. My artistic style has always been about illustration. What I try to do with my artwork is use as little as possible to make a statement. And so I oftentimes will, you know, look at a photograph, the face of somebody or a scene, and minimize it. Super minimalistic and not very many colors, because I want for the viewer's imagination to work with what I present.
Imperial Beach People's Alliance wants to try to focus especially on like Chula Vista, National City, San Ysidro, and those areas to start with for building more connections so that we can kind of form like a coalition together, because from the beginning of the summer I've noticed that a lot of those areas are left out of the larger community, and maybe if we bond together we could really make some ground in building all kinds of connections, especially art related.
IBPA is the People's Alliance of Imperial Beach, and they stand for unifying people who stand for social justice within Imperial Beach, where equality is super highly emphasized and fought for.
There was no organizer, and there was like really nothing organized about it. A couple people brought like a speaker and microphone, and like it didn't feel that there was a platform where someone would feel welcome to discuss like racial issues, racial justice and social justice issues. We were able to like respectfully work together as random strangers to collaboratively like think about all the factors of an event. Like the story of the group's formation is like so intertwined with like the murals. Since then, Imperial Beach People's Alliance has like tried to really jump in, and like the action, there's a lot for us to keep pursuing. But then we have also the mural project from the beginning was part of our mission, that we wanted to open a conversation and like set a new like welcoming tone for this conversation to be had in Imperial Beach.
So they wanted to find a project that they could do that stood for what they do, you know, and was aligned with their principles. And so they wanted for there to be a Black Lives Matter mural in Imperial Beach. What they were asking me to do, what they were looking for somebody to do, was something very different than that, and something that IB hasn't seen on a wall. They found an artist who then found me as a local artist in Imperial Beach who was a Black woman, to paint this mural that was about the experience being Black in America. That's how it began, is that they were looking for an artist, and I happened to be the person whose hands it fell into, and I'm really glad that it did, because my experience being a young Black girl growing up in Imperial Beach is something that I can use to inspire the imagery that I'll put on the wall, or on the walls on the outside of the building.
And this moment feels very different than previous moments of social unrest dealing with race and racism. I think a lot of it is this is the first time that a big cross section of not just Americans, but the world got to see a very clear video of what this looks like, saw how casual that crime, and that was a crime, to put your knee on another human being's neck for close to 8 minutes and watch and essentially extinguish someone else's life. And I think that art, it can be a way to spark conversation, and it can be a means of raising awareness. My work has been shown in galleries and museums and, international film festivals. It's a way for people to connect. It's a bridge that people can not only communicate their experience, but they could connect to other people who might have had similar experiences. And then also somebody who has never had that experience, that becomes a means for them to have a window into someone else's lives, or to see how someone else that might be from a completely different culture and background and even a different time.
For me, my activism has always been in conversation, and my voice as a form of protest and as a form of activism, but actually going out and doing something and being like, look world, this is how I feel about it and we're gonna talk about it. And like the amount of cars that drive by, and I was like, oh my God, like this is so different than anything I've done before. My experience is reflective of like all of the other Black experiences. Doesn't matter, because there's so much diversity within being Black. There's so much culture in Black culture. And so I felt like, why wouldn't my voice be the one to be heard or represented in this project? More than anything, I want for it to be a conversation starter. Once people understand what the mural is saying, I want for there to be a lot of conversation around what needs to happen and why those things are wrong. People who don't necessarily support the Black Lives Matter cause don't understand why it exists and don't pay a lot of attention to what the reality that people who are Black face in America every day. And so I hope that when people come to the wall and they realize what it's about, and they can look at the statistics and look at Gianna Floyd's face as the daughter of a man who isn't on this planet anymore because the police killed him, and it was not just. I want people to say that I didn't realize that these statistics existed. If they didn't, I want for them to talk about them. And I also want for people to use it as a conversation starter with their children, because they'll ask, like, who is that? What is that? What is that? What does that mean? And that can be a really good gateway to explaining the reality of this world right now.